right, good afternoon and welcome to our latest installment of Transportation Tidbits. Today we are talking about tiered busing systems, and we have a few wonderful guests. First and foremost, we have Jeff from School District of La Crosse, as well as Amanda and Annalise from Go Right Way. We also have Rhonda Page from Sun Prairie and Vanessa Cruz from Madison Metro. And with that, just a few key reminders. This is recorded. It will be posted on the Transportation Tidbits webpage probably next week. In addition, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A function or drop them in the chat. I will be monitoring that throughout our time together today. And finally, I will kick it over to Jeff, Amanda, and Annalise. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. I'm Jeff Elson with the School District of La Crosse. Again, I'm Energy and Transportation Manager. And with me, I have Go Right Way, Amanda.
I'm Amanda. I am Regional Director for Go Right Way Transportation and the Terminal Manager here for our La Crosse location.
I'm Annalise Solanke. I'm the Regional Operations Supervisor for the Northwest Division of Go Right Way.
So what we're going to be going over next is tiered busing. This is the first year that the school district has started doing tiered busing. We are doing the two-tiered system. What is tiered busing? As you can see, a tiered transportation system, it staggers school start and end times so that buses can be used at multiple schools. A non-tiered system operates all schools, and it starts at all at the same time. One of the things we were discussing earlier is that it is crucial when you do a two-tiered system is that you make them at the same time of ending, meaning at the same time as whether it's a 7-hour day or an 8-hour day. The other thing is districts often choose between these systems based on the cost. Drivability, as we all know, we're short drivers yet, so it does help with that. The scheduling complexity and community needs. One of the things we found out is that the community, we did bring it to the board, and this was something that they were very excited that they felt that this would help out. Next. I guess for us, this was a trial and error. And so what we wanted to do is to get on a webinar and speak like we're just in our first year of this. And what we did is we figured we would do a two-tiered system. I know there is 3 tiers out there, and we may speak of that a little bit after our presentation here. So you'll see here on with the district, we've estimated about a savings of $250,000 in simplifying route cost, which is really huge. We have had to add in some single routes here and there to accommodate our community needs, but we're estimating that value by the end of the year. As you can see, our schools, they all go by the same start times as far as start and end times for the period. So elementary, again, 7:30 to 2:30. Middle and high schools, we're going 8:30 to 3:30. Data has shown this has really been huge. It was amazing what we've seen for data on with our our elementary kids starting earlier. And then with middle and high school, it turned out to be where they're more alert and there's no tardiness. And we'll speak a little bit more about that on our next slide. So I'm gonna have Go Right Way kind of go through some of these, but some of the pros and the tiered system that we're on, we'll each grab one and kind of go into a little bit more than what we've got up on our slide. And then we'll go into the cons. So, Amanda, do you want to take that?
Sure. So our buses, since we've gone to the two-tiered system, they're not at full capacity anymore. So we're not having to have 4K through 12th grade on our buses. We're able to separate them versus elementary, middle school, and high school. So that's helped with behaviors on our buses, so drivers can manage it a little bit better instead of having a full bus load. With that too, our younger students aren't having to listen to those inappropriate conversations that our middle school and high school students might be having. So it's being able to separate them by their grade levels.
This has also allowed us to have 2 additional buses in the afternoon to take on different charters, especially our athletic groups. Because we have less high school and middle school students that are riding in our second tiers, it's just really freed up those 2 buses for us. We have also been seeing a decrease in the number of buses that are needed, and I mean, we're all part of the transportation world. We know that there's a driver shortage going on. So this has helped significantly with the driver shortage. And for the open routes that we do have, it's also helped with our sub drivers being able to learn the routes more easily. We're finding that drivers that are coming in from different areas in Wisconsin aren't getting lost as much as they were before, because the routes are mirroring each other pretty well off, and it's been going well.
We have seen decrease in the number of buses that we need, and so that's helped out a lot. Obviously, we talked about the driver shortage and everybody knows about it. Again, constantly, we are looking to still bring in newer drivers. We'll have flyers sent out. We also post some of our stuff in our schools to help bring in some more drivers to make sure that we have them to cover for athletics. The other thing it's helped out is it's enabled to be able to consolidate our routes without increasing the total driver hours significantly. And I know, Amanda, you got a little bit more on that one.
Yep, so our driver packages didn't increase significantly over going to the 2-tiered system. So with La Crosse last year, they had bell times that ranged anywhere from 7:45 in the morning till 8:30 in the morning with all of their different schools. So some of our buses were running 2 tiers, so it didn't increase their total route packages significantly.
Do we have the next slide, please? And some of the cons of the tiered system that we found out. So one is complex, family logistics, siblings on different bells. We have found where certain areas where our 4K, we do allow our siblings to ride on the 4K bus. This has become it was a little bit of a challenge, but it was again the first initiation of starting this out. And now we've seen it where they have worked it in where parents are getting their kids to be able to get to a bus stop so they can get on the bus.
One other thing that we struggled with is not building enough time in between the 2 routes, causing our high school, middle school students to be late for their first classes in the morning. So we have a lot of country driving here in La Crosse, and it was difficult for us to be able to get the elementary school students into school and then have to get all the way back out to that first stop to bring in those high school, middle school students. So one thing that we did have to do is we did have to separate some of those routes to where they are only running just an elementary tier or just a high school, middle school tier.
We have also run into a couple of issues with some of the charters, just because we'll have our middle schools that are going out for athletics, and we have to make sure that their drivers are back in time to complete their routes so that they can be picking up the elementary students. Sometimes we have to cut the trip short. Thankfully, the schools have been pretty accommodating with that. And they understand that we're working through it the same way that they are.
And the same thing goes with high school and middle school field trips. You'll see that we were cut short and drivers needing, but as Annalisa mentioned, we have worked with all of our schools and they've been accommodating to help us get done and we can leave early on those. I guess in conclusion, one of the things that I'll go in a little more detail is we're super excited because of the data showing with the middle school and the high schoolers starting out where they come in now at 8:30. We have seen more alertness, like I said, tardiness. We have had there's more of an excitement. It seems like their grades are going up. There's just a lot of benefit to this with starting them at 8:30. Again, we've had a lot of parents call, and some had said, well, this isn't working. And then we've had majority of them call and say, this is really good for my middle school or high school kiddo. They feel that they're they're learning more and they're coming back with more. You want to do that? Okay.
So with the accommodating field trips and athletics, in some senses, we are able to do it a little bit better, especially for our athletic teams, because we do have those 2 extra buses in the afternoons that only have that one single tier that are able to go over to the high school, middle school when they get out at 3:30 to accommodate their athletic needs. Like I said, we did run into some issues with field trips though, because with elementary getting back at 2:20 or elementary getting out at 2:25. We have to have those high school, middle school trips back in time to be able to accommodate their routes.
And less drivers isn't as much of a negative impact on the district. We've with the 2-tiered system, we've seemed to be able to fill those spots. And I know we're constantly looking at bringing more staff in to go right way. That's pretty much of all of our slides, but I will say that we have really learned a lot by this, and I don't know that we would even look at going back. It's really been successful. It's the savings is there, and again, we can always come back to once we're done for the first year, and hopefully have very positive feedback and data to show everybody. So I don't know, Rhonda and Vanessa, did you have anything you ladies would like to add?
You want to go first, Vanessa?
Sure. Yeah, I just, I mean, I can echo what the team talked about with, making sure that your day lengths are the same. Madison's day length is not the same for middle school and high school, and we have 3 tiers, and it is continually a challenge to make sure that our middle schoolers are not getting out super late, because right now they start at, they drop at 8:45 for a 9 o'clock start, and they get picked up at the end of the day at 4:25, because we have our first tier elementary is 7:20. Their day starts at 7:35, and they get picked up at 2:30. And then the second tier is 8:10 is the drop time for an 8:25 start time, and they release from school at 3:20 with a 3:30 pull away from school, because we have a 10-minute wait for loading. And so with the way that tier, it's challenging, right? And you do need to have the right amount of time in between routes. We found that like 45 to 50 minutes works for Madison usually, but we do have, the area in Fitchburg that goes really far down, and that area is continually a challenge. So, I mean, you are going to know your difficult points, but making sure having all the tiers aligned would help you flex to make the middle schools where you want them to be compared to elementary, because families express challenges with daycare. Do your schools have any kind of after school program for the elementary students until the middle schoolers get out? There's a lot of challenges. But either way, right, you either have the cost issue, the resource issue, or families have to learn to navigate a different schedule system. So.
Yeah, I will just ditto that. Sun Prairie went through this work a couple years ago, and I think if you're going to tier routes, it has to be tied to bell time changes. So this was a bell time. Well, we had bell time, tiered routes, and boundary. It's all wrapped together, but not sure I'd recommend all that. So it was a year-long process. Bell times have to change. If they're not the same length of day, it doesn't work. Absolutely, I think it sounds pretty common here that you need 45 minutes between bell times at a minimum. That's what we have, and it's not quite enough. And I think we all kind of run into that. You almost need a little bit more. Going into the work, though, there just has to be very established parameters, and that's what you work around, right? What is the earliest pickup time that we would allow? What's the latest drop-off time we would allow for each level? Like just figuring out which level is going to run first and second is was a big thing that we had to decide. Yeah, what's the earliest pickup, the latest drop off, who's going first? The time between the tiers is really not a decision from a task force. I mean, we had a consultant working with us to determine exactly and analyzed all of our routes ahead of time. You know, getting private schools on board to change, because if they don't, that throws a little wrench in things, and they don't have to, and ours didn't change, but so that throws some things in there. If you have after school programs, 4K, obviously figuring out how they're all impacted, and if those times need to change is consideration. Traveling teachers are big things. I will just ditto that. I don't know if it's been easier for athletics on us or not. I think it is a little bit easier. It's just we're all strapped with resources, but field trips is greatly impacted. Buses can't leave until after the second tier. So and then they have to be back before the first tier. So anything outside of, we're in Sun Prairie, the Madison area, just, you know, if you're going to go to Milwaukee, by the time you get there, you're there for a couple hours and you're coming back. It really, there's just no flexibility. The buses all have to be back for the first tier in the afternoon, and field trips, we can't run the field trips we used to run.
That's interesting, because we're learning that, because obviously this is our first year.
Yeah.
And so that has been a challenge. And we all smile because we deal with it with field trips. I think they, you know, sometimes they don't realize that there isn't no negotiation. We have to be back for that second tier. There's just no.
Yeah. And we tell them, and sometimes actually when they're running late, we actually have had to leave. Like they just don't come to the bus. It's like you're staying then. Like the buses have to get back. That's the only resource we have to run the route. So we make it very upfront. If you want to go, these are the times.
Yeah,
So
we
we have a couple
definitely.
questions. Oh, go ahead, Vanessa.
No, I was just gonna say, we had to be strict with that too, and I have to send all kinds of fun letters to schools and secretaries and be like, your people have to come out, or we can't have kids late getting home. And just really quick, we were actually forced to go to 3-tier, and I don't know if anybody remembers this or knows this about Madison, but after COVID, we were 2-tier before COVID. Half of we were transitioning our middle school from Metro City Service to yellow bus. We had half of the middle schools were on yellow. And so everybody was really 2-tier before COVID. We came back from COVID, and 2 weeks before school starts, we got messages that our carrier did not have enough drivers. And so we had to like downshift really fast and redo everybody's bell times. And it was not happy, right? People didn't want that. And so then when we came to first student, the goal was to go back to 2-tier. And so, I mean, Jeff, you said, I don't know if we would ever go back. Going back is very difficult. Once you have made those cuts in that direction, it's very hard to stretch back out that system. So, you know, I mean, I think, yes, it's way more efficient. It's simpler to make. I mean, there's a lot of parts, but I think it's the right way to go. But yeah, to go back from that is very difficult. And to go back from that bell time wise. So we have, like I said, our day length for middle school is longer than the elementary schools. And that's a challenge that we have now to try to move them earlier. So we didn't have the benefits of having a consultant like Sun Prairie did. So yeah, doing that work ahead of time and getting ahead of, we don't know what's going to happen in the world there could be another we don't know what's going to happen. And so kind of getting ahead of that, I think, would definitely be a recommendation, and not have to make reactionary decisions based on what's going on in the world. So
Well, knock on wood, let's hope there's never another pandemic quite like what we had. A couple of questions in the chat. Is there any more fuel cost or like additional bus maintenance, bus mileage because of running duplicate routes for any of you?
Some of our buses in La Crosse have added mileage to them because they weren't they only had one tier last year. So then going to the 2 tiers, yes. But last year we did have several buses that were also running 2 tiers because of the way that the school is laid out with their bell times. So some added bus mileage, definitely.
Has that impacted like fuel costs at all? How much
little
you
bit,
spend in a
yeah.
year?
I don't think a significant amount though.
Rhonda, Vanessa, do either of you want to jump in?
I mean, the way that our fuel, I don't know if it costs our contractor more. But the way that our fuel clause is in our contract, it doesn't cost the district more. But I guess I'm not sure if it's costing the contractor more.
I think for us, because we didn't have the grades paired together, everybody was separate. And so we're just doing the same routes in a condensed way where we would have whole other vehicles, yeah, we didn't go to that, condensed, separating out the grades. We have the same routes. It's just we have them in a staggered tier. So our mileage is the same. We're doing the same routes. We're just doing them with less vehicles. So for us, it's less. But if you were a K-12 school and you were doing them all together, they were all coming in together, then I could see how that would be an added mileage for your school.
Yeah, and for the school district of La Crosse, we're gonna be in 2 years taking a couple elementaries off the grid. So with that being said, we're gonna be saving route times there too, and mileage and fuel that way. So
Do any of you offer activity routes for middle and high schools?
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Both.
we bus from school to school in La Crosse. So like show choir is at one of our middle schools. So we bus from one middle school to the other. Or athletic practices. So like obviously golf can't practice at a middle school. They've got to go to a golf course. So we shuttle them over to like the local golf courses or whatnot. Yeah.
And I think part of that question is if you like after activities, is there like an activity bus that does a route to get kids home too?
Yep, so that's where it comes into play for La Crosse with those 2 additional vehicles that we have that don't have those second tiers. They're able to go and run an elementary route and then hit high school or middle school to help with those practice runs or getting show choir to that other middle school.
I'm sorry.
No, you can go.
In Madison, we have our Madison Schools Recreation Program. So after schools, they have middle school programming, and there's some after school elementary daycare. And all those routes we have it treated like a 4th tier. Up until this year, last year, they were kind of treated as charters that MSCR was built, purchasing directly for students separately as like an extra, as it were, like a field trip almost, but they were doing a route. And so this year we worked on getting those built in as a route. So a driver knows that's just part of their day. They're going to go back to that middle school or to that elementary school and pick them up at the end of the day, but it's past our route times. So.
Yeah, and I think maybe the question is, so if you tiered and you had secondary go first, if secondary started first and ended first, you would run into a resource issue offering after school activity buses because you would need those drivers. They would be out doing the elementary route. I think all of us here, our elementary start first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That are on this panel, and our secondary goes second. So by the time we're running the activity buses, all the resources are done, all of the routes are done. And so we have drivers then to go back. But if you tiered the other way, where secondary started first, you probably would have an issue with doing that, offering that.
The other thing, yeah, and the other thing we run into specifically is because of how late our middle school gets out, right? High school gets out at 3:47. But a lot of sport games, you know, that the kids need to compete in are at like 4 or 4:30. And so we've got kids having to leave middle school early if they're going to participate. And then we have bus issues. We definitely have bus issues with sports in the afternoon for those, for the older kids. Like there's not a bus available to take a high school group, you know, to a football game in Sun Prairie or wherever it may be. Kenosha doesn't, yeah,
Right. They have
we
to leave
struggle.
really early, or they have to
Yes.
wait and leave later.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say that's probably the major issue that we all deal with, isn't it? I mean, trying to get them to athletics and still get that second tier deliver, kids home. That's where I know we struggle with that right now, so.
And one more question in the chat. What are some benefits that you presented to your board in order to get bell times changed?
Well, that's a good one. One of the things was, I think they really liked the savings. That was presented to them and that was one of the things. The other thing is doing a tiered system. We were, with the Go Right Way as a partner, we were struggling with trying to get drivers. And if we can still get kids home on time, get them to schools on time, it was crucial that if we did the tiered system, we'd be able to work that, make that happen. And the other benefit that we had said to them is that we were hoping it was going to show the data of where these kids are now going to want to, you're going to see them not being tardy. We were having some tardiness. We were struggling with some of the kids not learning, being more alert. And it's made a huge impact for us on that. So.
Yeah, just to add to that too, they did, when they were looking at transitioning our middle schoolers off of Metro, they were actually very early before that. They were at 7:30, 7:15, they were dropping before they went to do the high school routes. And so that's why we moved them off, we were moving them off of Metro so that they could have that later start time, just for that reason, that the studies show that older students do a lot better when they have a later start time. Definitely.
I would ditto all of that. Money, that's the biggest one. Driver shortage. If we were going to continue with a one-tier system, we wouldn't have been able to provide all of those routes. I'm not sure what we would have done, but it wasn't feasible. And we did reverse our tiers as well. Our middles and high schools did start before our elementary. And there was just a lot of studies brought in, and we reversed to have elementary start before secondary.
And then
I have a quote.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, in La Crosse, was there any pushback from the teachers union or any concern? Because we have lots of feedback from teachers union about the teacher times when it comes to then moving tiers and whatnot. And it's always transportation's fault. So hugs to you all.
Great question, Vanessa. Yes, we did have pushback. It changes hard. I mean, that's what it was. As soon as you change something and it involved time, we explained to them too that this is what we were hoping we were going to see from the data. And now once we're into it and we've done how many months we're into school right now, we haven't. It's gone out of sight, out of mind, out of sight. We're back in gear. We're rolling, and even middle or elementary now, some of those teachers are even getting done a little bit earlier, so they were happier. And now some of our middle school and high school, those teachers could be home spending a little bit more time with family before they went into school to start at 8:30. But there was definitely pushback. Yeah.
Do any of you have difficulty arranging for an athletic team to be dropped off early at their facility in order to run a PM route? And in addition to that, is there anyone that's like tried working with the WIAA to arrange for student athletic events to start later to help with transportation and getting teams to where they need to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good question. The problem is the later you start, as you know, our day, we're losing sun, and so we were struggling with that. So the only thing we could do is work with our athletic directors and try to leave a little bit early without causing any issues with our kiddos, not being able to learn and be in class. There's still challenges there, and I know with Go Right Way and myself, we're working at that and looking at it, but I don't know if they'll start any later, and maybe you ladies may have some comments on that.
I know it's been brought up by our athletic directors. I'm not sure that there's been success. Our greatest success has been getting our coaches trained through Cobuson has offered some training to get them trained to become bus drivers. I think we have about 15 coaches, so that alleviates that helps, right? Because they're going to just leave class early with the kids and supervise them at the events. I don't think they've had an issue being at a venue early. I haven't heard that as a complaint, but that's been the way that we can get kids to events. At least, like, maybe if we need 3 or 4 buses, at least that coach takes one, or the kids that are doing the JV kids, or the JV2 kids, or the kids that are doing the sprints and the track meet, and then the people doing distance that's later, they come on a later bus. So that's what we are really pushing, is getting coaches to become bus drivers.
We did try that. Our recruitment was not super successful. First Student is a bigger company that has some different just procedures that go along with being a very large company. And some of those procedures didn't really align well with what the teachers needed, the coaches needed. And, there's certain training that they have to do, and sometimes it's not very flexible. One thing that we've had an issue with is, Madison School District is not drug test. And so trying to get staff to then apply for an organization that you do have to be drug tested for, it's been a challenge. Been a challenge with bus attendants for sure. Yeah, so we tried that way. I've had,
Some of our coaches. Because we at La Crosse, we've had some coaches do it too and fill in, and it's coming down to where we're gonna have to ask for more help. Because it's a struggle, and with the early starts as it is, it's so hard to be able to get those buses on that second tier, so.
One of the things that we have found very helpful with the 2 teachers that we have as bus drivers for us, though, is being able to stage the buses at the schools for them. That way, right after, they can just get right in the bus and they can go, and we can figure out how to get the bus back to the terminal afterwards.
Yeah, that's very helpful if that's an option, just getting the bus to them. And I think we've worked with our contractor to provide like 3 or 4 day sessions on because it's really hard from what I hear, and I'm not certified to drive a bus. They don't want me to do that. But it's just a lot of work and a lot of reading, a lot of studying. And so we have trainers that come, and then they'll work with our coaches for 4 hours, and then the coaches should be ready. They go right down to the DMV and take the test, or that 1 or 2 tests, and the next day they work through the next section. And then so I think that's our best, just to say, here's the material and figure it out, wasn't as successful. So we're trying to do more work sessions and trainer-led sessions to help these coaches along, and then provide a financial incentive. The district provides an incentive, and then the bus company has some sign-on bonuses and other bonus and incentives as well.
And then, another WIA one. Is there any way to be more mindful of how many home versus away games they assign on any given day? Sometimes we have all home games, and then other times we have all away, and we can't cover all 5 to 6 sports that are going out at one time. Has anybody had success kind of advocating for splitting it up a little bit?
I think that we do, because we have 2, and I would have to ask more, so I can connect with this person. If you give me their information, find out more. We have 2 high schools, and when one's home, the other is away, and one's away, and try to stagger the sports as well in each school. So I know that we do that. I don't know how, but I know our ADs work on that. And again, if our one high school soccer's home, the other one's away, and the same with volleyball, all the different sports. So there must be some negotiating.
We've gotten kind of lucky in lacrosse too, because a lot of the away games are in Sparta and Toma, and one of our routes ends out that way. That takes some of the private school students home. So he's able to do the return for those groups, which has been, we got really lucky with that.
Yeah. It looks like there are no more questions in the Q&A or the chat. Does anybody have any closing comments?
I would just say, with us at the school district of La Crosse, I don't see us going back, and Vanessa's right. Once you've done all this work and you've got people to buy in on it, along with teachers, along with your Go Right Way, daycares, everything. So it's been huge. So in the day, it's showing it's working. And I guess that's the motivation for us, is to make sure we keep doing it. And if there is little kinks in the road, we figure it out and how to make it work out to go from there. So
Just make sure you do your research and plan ahead.
We got one more. Do you all feel that this only works for schools that are over a certain size? All 3 districts that we have here are fairly large. Do you feel like this could translate to a smaller district?
Yes, so we actually, in our La Crosse location, we service Alaska School District as well too, which is half the size of La Crosse. And they also have 2 tiered systems there as well too, except they bring in high school, middle school first, and then elementary. So they do it reversed, but a 2-tiered system works well there too. We also, with Go Right Way, we service Mazomanie location as well too, or Wisconsin Heights School District. They also have a 2-tiered system, and they are a very small terminal school district. So, and it works there as well.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank all of you for taking part in this panel today. We greatly appreciate all of your insight into what a tiered system could look like across many different districts in many different areas of the state. Our next Transportation Tidbits will take place on February 4th, so after the new year, and we will be covering private school transportation with the help of Ben Kapitsky from the DPI. So make sure you mark your calendar. Registration will be up and running in the next couple of weeks. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.